In this segment, we're going to talk about some classic contemporary horror movies. And what we mean by contemporary, these things I think will be considered classics of the horror genre, but contemporary, we're thinking that they've been around in the last 20 years or so. Not necessarily classic as in the 60s, we're thinking more from the 90s till now. So Tom, what do you start as for your choice for classic contemporary?
This kind of kills me because when you say classic, I'm thinking, oh, it's not classic. Yeah, actually, I am doing Tremors.
Tremors. Kevin Bacon. Tremors.
1991.
Right.
Cheers.
Cheers to Kevin Bacon. Yes.
6 degrees.
Of Kevin Bacon.
Yes, 1991 Tremors. Oh! I owe you one skull.
Continue.
I am so sorry.
You just broke one of my skulls.
I owe you one skull.
That's all right. Into the abyss, folks. Think it's how we roll here.
This is high quality entertainment.
All right.
ahead.
So let's continue before Kevin beats me when he turns the camera off.
Okay.
Yes, Tremors is 1991. Now, I actually went to go see this with my dad in the movie theater, and we both really liked it because, yes, it can be a horror movie, but it's also a comedy, and it's also realistic. It was well shot. It was well acted. Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward were the two main characters, and they played off each other so well. It was also, I guess you consider it buddy movie too, but their interactions were so easy. You could tell they were friends, but there's also funny how they would insult each other as well.
What was the release year?
1991.
91. Okay.
You're trying to figure out how old you were.
I was about 10 when I saw it then.
You suck. Anyways, quick synopsis, by the way, because I also realized there are a lot of people around our age who did not see this because, that was not what they're into. It's on Netflix. I watched it with my wife. She goes, no, I didn't see it. And at the end, she goes, I really enjoyed the movie. It is a movie that you can watch constantly and enjoy. Quick synopsis, it takes place in the town of Perfection. Very small town, 14 people in Nevada. That's very isolated, surrounded by mountains and cliffs. And it deals essentially with prehistoric subterranean carnivorous worms, giant worms, somehow get awakened and are killing and eating people. Now, in terms of the horror section, I thought it worked pretty well because it is kind of scary coming right out of the ground to eat you. Now, at that age, I was starting to get into the teenage years, so, honestly, I wasn't too shocked, but if I was younger, it was almost like when I saw Jaws. When I saw Jaws, I didn't want to go in the water at all. Mm-hmm. If I was younger and I saw this, I'd be afraid of stepping on the ground. It did work off pretty well, but it was also a little bit of a comedy. It also stars Michael Gross.
And from
Family Ties.
Family Ties.
He played the understanding, very soft-hearted former hippie father, Family Ties. In this movie, he plays the psychotic survivalist gun nut enthusiast, Burt Gummer. And now, of course, most of you may have heard of Tremors because there are so many sequels to it that star Michael Gross. Unfortunately, I'm not a fan of the sequels, but in that case, it was just awesome. This guy is carrying an elephant gun of all things around with him. Man. It was so well acted. You actually cared about the characters. Mm-hmm. After the cannon fodder were killed off, those first couple of kills designed just to, satisfy your bloodlust. But then it got into it was a very small town. Again, 14 people, and they had very good character development. So when someone did die, it was, I didn't want that guy to die. I didn't want it to happen at all.
Everyone's unique, so everyone you want to stick around.
And it was also, I would say, very believable. You never know if you could find some creatures that existed that predate the fossil record. And not to mention, they were looking at ways of defeating it, from standing on these gigantic boulders to just outsmarting them and using homemade pipe bombs for them to die off. I also like how the fact the worms were learners. Over time, they started learning. They were digging traps. The last one, and I'm not giving anything away here. The last one they called Stumpy. They called it that because it actually had these little tentacle tons that stalled out Kevin Bacon's truck. It learned the most, and when they tried to get it to eat a bomb, it spat it out. So, honest to goodness, it's January, it's cold, there's snow on the ground, and even if you saw Tremors, see it again. It's a great movie. It has not been dated. It's still good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, get your kids involved before they look at all the sequels and the sci-fi show. Go watch the original Tremors. It's always fun.
And here's my shout out. This is actually...
It's definitely 5 hammers if I got to throw it out there.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
The reason I was trying to calculate how old I was, because I would actually call this a formative movie for me. For my taste in horror with the monster films, this is one of the movies I remember as a kid that enlightened me to, I like horror. So I love this one. I recently watched it with my son as one of his first horror movies, monster movies. My wife watched it. My wife does not like horror, but she did watch that one.
And that's your thing.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing is, this is one of those great movies where it's approachable enough with the humor that even people who aren't big in horror will still probably watch it.
Oh, of course.
So if you're a horror fan and you want your friends and family who don't like horror to watch a movie, this is a great one to do it with.